Welcome to another episode of Voices. I'm your host, Keston Jones. Visionaries offering information with clarity, expertise, and substance. We are content experts. Let your voice be heard. Welcome to another episode of Voices. I'm your host, Keston Jones, and I know you guys know this. I have another special guest, Mr. Messiah Ramkissoon.
Peace, brother. Thank you for having me.
How you doing, man? Great to have you on the show. And this is another special guest. And one of the things that I want to say about anybody who comes on this show is, no matter what, this individual is a dope individual. All right, dope is my key word. All right, it means that I've identified people from the community that I believe are at the pulse of change, at the pulse of just doing dope things, and I believe the world needs to hear more individuals like that, especially in the age of all this negative media around people of color and they're doing bad things. And I think it's very important for us to have an alternate perspective on what's going on, because not all of us who are people of color are doing bad things. Some of us are doing great things. And Messiah is one of those individuals. This man has done tremendous things. You've toured all over the place. You've headlined with Kelly Price. You've headlined the Apollo. You've been the recipient of a scholarship from Oprah Winfrey. You're doing great work as it relates to youth in the community. But you know what? I can say much more, but I don't think that I can say it better than you. So thank you again for being on this show.
Thank you for having me, man.
I really appreciate that.
I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love what this show represents, so, it's a blessing that we have this platform, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, talk to me, man. Tell me about yourself, man. Tell me about your upbringing and what led you to want to become this creative force that you have become.
Yeah, man, I came from a home, full of spirituality and my father coming from the Rasta tradition, my mother, both of my parents Trinidadian, myself as well.
Shout out to the Trinidadians.
Shout out to the Trinis, you know what I mean? And so that was the foundation for me before moving to America. When we were at home, my dad didn't have a TV in the house, right? It was about tapping into this, right? I saw him spend a lot of time in his meditations and his studies and different things, and of course his music. He was big on reggae, Bob Marley's, and all the old greats and stuff. So I grew up in that type of environment, man. My father was a very disciplined man. A lot of people don't know much about my dad. Yeah. He moved back. We got to the United States when I was 11, and he moved back to Trinity when I was about 15. But during my years with him, man. Very disciplined man. Even the way that I eat today, and being mindful of what I put in my body, I got that from my dad. Certain disciplines. I used to see my dad wake up early in the morning, 5:30, and he would about 6:30, the whole house be mopped, the whole yard is raked, and about 6:30, he's opening your curtains saying, "Rise and shine, time to get up and start your day." Yeah, so this man, this is how he lived life. And he didn't care about the things of this world, the credit scores, the mansion with the drive-through garage. You know what I'm saying? He didn't care about that. He has his land in Trinity, he has his home, but his foundation was really based on simplicity. He aligned a lot of his principles towards nature, and what didn't align with nature, he told me wasn't the way. You know what I mean?
So obviously, and shout out to your dad, man. Obviously,
shout out to Pops. Shout out to Baba.
Shout out to Baba. He was a great influence on you, man. I often, the work that I do, working with fathers in the community, I think is very important for dads to be involved in the rearing of their children. And myself, I'm familiar with many of the things that you say as someone who was born in Trinidad as well, who have the background, who's an immigrant, and I think that that area is big, especially in today's media and this current political climate, about immigration and things like that. So, you know, that's certainly work that I've done, and I know that you're a part of a number of areas as well. But we'll save that for another interview. I want to hear about, you know, what led you to become, you know, this artist.
The artist?
The artist.
Yeah. You know, I was recently speaking in an interview, and someone asked me that question.
Yeah.
And my parents split when I was about 4 or 5 years old, man. And I didn't feel comfortable telling people how I felt, but I didn't feel good about the breakup, you know? And the only way that I could really express my thoughts, my ideas, was through the pen and paper. And having that West Indian upbringing, you know, you had to, they had you reading and writing at a very young age.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I used to write letters to God. That's how I started writing, like, dear God, and just venting. You know, I didn't even know it was called a diary or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, we had what we call back home the copybooks, right? The softback copybooks.
I know.
And I used to write in those, man. And I started falling in love with just words and poetry and just the ability to be able to express. And, you know, and also listening. You know, I used to listen to a lot of, like, I was young in my mind, you know, was a lot of things happening around, but I was very attracted to the speeches of Malcolm X.
Yeah.
I used to know Malcolm's speeches, right? And my pops would look at me, this is an interesting little fella. You know, my uncle left his Qurans at home. I started studying Arabic on my own, right? Mind you, I'm not even 11 yet, right? So that was like, and then when my father got remarried, shout out to his wife, Queen Ayasudabey, she's also a performing artist. And so seeing her with the music and everything like that, when she saw my talent, she encouraged me to keep going. And so, you know, as I got older and matured and got to the U.S., some of my peers were into hip-hop, and I used to love rhyming. You know what I mean? So we started in a studio in an abandoned building, that we took a room in that abandoned building, and we put an analog studio in there. And we were teenagers, man, and we, you know, I used to be in there all times of night, and, you know, I was 16 with like 50-something songs, right? And collaborations, and a lot of my guys were, you know, on the God body and the knowledge of self, and you know, we were in there playing chess and studying, and that's what it was. You know what I mean?
Yo, I love this story. This is grassroots right here, and it's especially in hearing you speak, and you talk about hip hop, and one of the things that for me, as someone who grew up, who moved to this country when I was 6 years old, migrated to Bedford-Stuyvesant, settled in Crown Heights, hip-hop was a part of, you know, our culture, as well as reggae and all these other areas. And what I see is oftentimes in the music, you have great beats and great, you know, the African drums and all these other things, but it's like layered with negative connotations, negative messages, and it's and based on what you're talking and how you're talking, you're one of those individuals that, you know, you have a lot upstairs in terms of positivity. So how do you feel about, you know, music as a whole, and the responsibility that an artist has to put forth positive messages, or allow your expression of your messages to be, you know, not necessarily always misogynistic or negative in that way?
Great question, brother. I think that's a threefold question, right? I mean, because in order for me to answer that, I think we also need to understand why a lot of artists do this, right? A lot of artists do this because they want to make money, right? Because the music industry is built on capitalism. Just like the prison industry is built on capitalism. And the music industry and the prison industry are also cousins, right? It's very close together. We see rappers, these young rappers, 6ix9ine, we see Bobby Shmurda, we see these dudes, but the labels are marketing these messages of these dudes telling on themselves. They're funding this, right? So they made their money. And then when you go to prison, the prison system makes their money, right? So we see that this is a game here, and the only way for artists to really have the autonomy to say what they want to say is to create independent platforms like you did with your show, right? So what I did recently, I started a company, Greenlight Music Group, LLC. Shout out to Howard University. I was blessed to study public relations at Howard. But through my expertise and knowledge, just years in the business and in some of my understanding on the business side of things, I really wanted to be that platform, not just for myself, but for other creatives. So it's very new, and we're growing, but it's mainly Also looking at artist development.
Yeah.
Right? No one is really doing hardcore artist development anymore because no one really cares anymore about the longevity of the artist.
Yeah.
It's a hustle. Everybody's a quick flip now. Yeah. Right? So nobody's really in the best interest of the person no more. It's like you have this hit, we made the money, now we need the next guy.
Yeah.
And when you come in and tell you we need you to sound like the guy before you. Right? We need you to get with the current sound, so it's not even cool to be yourself anymore. Yeah. Right? So you have artists making music about Molly's and Percocets
that don't even use it.
Right? So and you look yourself in the mirror at night.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And say, yo, I go to sleep at night,
yeah.
knowing I make a killing lying all day.
Yeah.
Right? And your conscience don't bother you because you're looking at the
financial
things,
side,
right?
Yeah.
You're looking at the finance, you're looking at the jewelry, you're looking at the women and the different things that looks attractive. Yeah. But then 40, 50 years old, nobody, you're struggling. Yeah. Right? It's no retirement plan for you. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this is what it is. And so, I think that we have to really and the bone that I have to pick with a lot of the quote unquote what they call conscious, I don't really like that term, but the artists who have a voice that's needed. My thing is that I feel like a lot of them need to be more business oriented.
Gotcha.
Right? It's good that we have the message, all right? But we know in the music industry, they're gonna let you get a J. Cole every so often.
Yeah.
They're not gonna saturate you with a lot of J. Coles. They're not gonna saturate you with a lot of Kendrick Lamars.
Yeah.
Right? They're not gonna saturate you with a lot of like Black Thoughts, and every so often they let one slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
Right? So in order for artists to really be able to be empowered, those who have the opportunity and receive that platform, I think they owe it to the community, not just to be great and put out good music, but to really plant some seeds on the business end that these young people coming out of high school, coming from the streets, where they could really take their messages and have a platform where they know they can tell the truth, where they can be themselves, and where they could put out something that's healthy for the community and for the people.
Definitely,
and I think the want is there. The platform is just not there.
Definitely, man. And shout out to you for seeing that and starting your company. And we want to see things like that. I personally believe things like that we need to support. This show right here, Visionaries Offering Information with Clarity, Expertise, and Substance, is about promoting visionaries, and I believe that you're a visionary, especially even at a young age. At a young age, you won the Apollo. You won the Apollo, not one, not twice, 3 times. Can you talk about how was that experience?
So let me tell you. When I moved to America, right, my pops and I used to watch Apollo.
Yeah.
And I was a pretty ruthless fella, you know what I mean? When people got booed and stuff, I was laughing at the TV, like, I got him, he's out of here.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would be the guy on there one day.
Yeah.
So when they called me and said, well, to answer your question, I was in D.C. at the time when I auditioned. Yeah. They were going around the country doing auditions. And there were hundreds of people there, and they called me, And when I got on, and before I got on the show, like as I'm backstage, I'm seeing people getting booed, right? Some of the people I saw them in rehearsal that morning, I thought they were dope. Yeah. So now I have a heart all of a sudden, right? I'm like, damn, that's messed up. I didn't boo you. So as I get on the stage now, my first night performing at Apollo was a Saturday night. Yeah. Harlem wasn't as gentrified back then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the crowd was raw.
What time was this? What year?
This was in 2005, I want to say.
Got you, all right.
You know what I mean? So 2005, yeah. And so Saturday nights, they say, were the livest nights at the Apollo.
Yeah.
That was my first night. And so the energy, I would say with places like that, energy is everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there were people who were dope.
Yeah.
But maybe they weren't that confident when they went out, and the audience preyed on that.
Yeah.
Maybe, and also there were a lot of young people in the audience, and Apollo was an elimination thing. Yeah. So sometimes you boo the person that's good just because you want to see your person win. Right? So I'm going to get you out of here, you out of here, you out of here. When my guy come on, we going to clap. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
So you really in the lion's den, brother. You know what I'm saying? Apollo, it's really, and it gave me a greater respect for the Apollo. Because I heard about the greats, the James Browns, everybody who came through Apollo when it was their rites of passage, the Lauryn Hills, but me being there, I was like, this is a real crowd. And so being able to survive it was I mean, aside from winning, just being able to survive it. You know what I mean? It was a great experience.
Well, shout out to winning. And one of the things that
shout out to Monique, who hosted back then.
Oh, Monique,
you know
absolutely. Monique is someone that often speaks, very passionate about the community as well as that. And we'll talk about the community and the community work that you're doing. So really appreciate, you sharing the different aspects of yourself. So question, transitioning to the community and the community work, I see that you have a sweater on. Can you talk about the origins of this sweater?
Yeah, man, this sweater actually, so I work with a nonprofit organization, and we work with young people in the injustice system, rather, right? The young people, 16 to 21-year-olds on Rikers.
And you're the director of the program.
I worked as director of program.
Absolutely, definitely.
Yeah, so I so pretty much Rikers, Horizons in the Bronx, and Crossroads in Brooklyn. I'm pretty much responsible for the majority of the programming that goes inside the jails. And so we also have a community program called Friends of the Art. One of the brothers, Anthony, is his program. And yesterday, one of the youth members, who's a mentee of mine, her name is Diavion. Shout out to Diavion.
Shout out.
Diavion laced up this sweater in their workshop. So I was walking by and I saw it. I was like, Diavion, that's fire. You know what I mean? Like, what are you gonna do with that? She's like, I'll sell it for 30. So I gave her the, so this is her work, man.
Yeah.
This is her work. Young sister, man, and these young people in there doing art, using their vision, their thoughts, and really making something from nothing, and it's a lot of amazing things that, to use your word, dope things that come out of those workshops. And so even a lot of the young people that who we work with on the inside, is so much genius. And so often we sleep on our young, you know what I mean? So often we underestimate how equipped they really are. And they just need an outlet. They just need a platform. So for them to be able to have a space to create, like we had a young brother there, he came in 10 o'clock this morning. And when I left to come do the interview with you, he was still there. Doing his art and creating his own fashion line and stuff. So it's about empowering. Any movement that's not empowering our young people has no longevity.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? A brother named Nuri Muhammad said a youthless movement is a useless movement, right? And so we always have to ensure that our young are at the forefront of what we do, that we're bringing them with us, that they're learning, that they're understanding, that they're able to apply their own ideas. It's just necessary. It's not that deep. We just owe it. You know what I'm saying? It ain't that deep. You know what I mean? Our ancestors did it for us, man. The least we can do.
I mean, we're seeing examples of that, especially in this day and age. Our youth are much more inclined in terms of understanding their voice. We look at it, even the civil rights movement, the freedom riders. These were young folk that were black and white, that were being attacked, and because they believed in freedom. And then even just recently, you have the young folks in Florida, being responsible for the March for Our Lives, changing and showing that their numbers can affect policy, can also affect monetary, some of these companies. So it's very important for us to that. So you mentioned that you're directing this program. What led you to, in addition, because I know you're still heavily involved in the art and in your work, but what led you to also tap into that side of you and become a director and work with this population?
Well, when I got out of college, man, I was still doing a lot of performing, gigging a lot. And one of my good brothers, Troy, came home from doing 11 years in prison. And before he went in, he was heavy in the streets, what you would call like a kingpin.
Yeah.
And when he came home, he was Minister Troy X, right? And so when he heard my artistry, he said, brother, they need you in these prisons. And I said, brother, I've been wanting to get into prisons. I've been, booked through the schools and a bunch of different places where young people are, the Boys and Girls Clubs. I said, but didn't do the prisons. And I've been wanting to get there because I know a lot of my people are there and forgotten about once they get there. So, and my heart has always been with the forgotten, with the struggle. And so, started going in there with Brother Troy, man. And we started off in Baltimore jails and DC jails, and we weren't making no money, man. We were going in there speaking life and empowering to these brothers, like really, resonating in the depths, and the wardens and different people would sit back and observe. and they would ask for us to come back, and other organizations began hearing about the work.
Yeah.
And that's how it started becoming more and more viral. But it started from a very grassroots, just genuine. We didn't forecast that 11 years later I would still be doing this work. You know what I mean?
Well, I definitely applaud you for doing this work, and as a result of your work and your leadership, my organization, the FARM, the Foundation for the Advancement and Rehabilitation of the Marginalized, we are also doing the work in the prisons, and really appreciate that. And you've given not only the FARM but other nonprofit and organizations.
It's about empowering the real, right? You know, a lot of people get in power, and they put so many things, they expose so many things to our young people. That has no power, that can't transform, that the youth will not respect, because the youth has the eyes to detect what's real and what's not, right? So you're playing with these young people's lives, right? And I say all the time, my youth are not grounds for experimentation, right? I'm not gonna put anyone in there who I know won't impart something upon these young people that they can walk away from and be a better person when they step forth. So it's about them having something to extract from. You may never see them again, right? You may take a different path with your life, but never underestimate the seed that you planted will eventually germinate, if not today, at some point, right? So for everyone who goes in there, I think we could never underestimate even what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Powerful words, powerful words. So you've left us with you've shared tremendous insight. And I really love your energy and your spirit. I think spirit is very important. So in addition to sharing the words, would you honor us with a poem, something to cap off this episode? You know, as far as something that we can get for food for thought.
It would be a blessing, my brother.
Absolutely.
You know. God gave me the talent, so He gave me the gift. So my cousin said, if you don't use it, you lose it. You know what I mean? His life ain't pretty, far from tulips or a lily. That's why he get high, tulips on a Philly. The bed to the block, his daily journey, on the bench early like a paid attorney. Perceived by the day-to-day working class person as worse than trash. Seen as an outcast by the mayor and police chief. So they crack down, never mind the peace treat, to keep the crack down and decrease beef. So there's a black cloud on these streets. I'm black, I'm proud, free speech, say it loud, but what does it mean beneath sheets? Laying down 3 + 3 feet in the ground, we used to fight to be free. Now we snatch your chains. And all we know about hard work is crack cocaine. How far have black folk came from tobacco cane to pushed in the back row lane? Then the era of the afro came before the new era. Hat low, bling in this journey of life. Will we return to our earlier life? Teeth pearly and white, skin charcoal or gold. Complexion was just a reflection of the soul. We been fly like an eagle or pelican, a people of melanin, before the needle and heroin, or even being seen as American. Now you complain like you were cursed, but it's always somebody in the universe doing worse. Complaining is the foolest pleasure. Hot, cold, or coolest weather. I'm cool as ever, thankful, never aligned, doing better with bankroll. Tank low or pump full. However the drum roll, remain humble or find yourself coming back, walking in circles, like running track, crossing the hurdles. Back to life, back to reality. Picture black and white, lacking the clarity, because the sacrifice became vanity when success came. Move with weakness and lose your pieces. Life is a chess game. Also, I'm working on some new things, man. I'd love to share with y'all soon.
Peace, peace. You heard it here first. Oh my God. Yo, that was amazing.
Much respect.
That was
Thank
amazing.
You,
and like I said, this is a dope individual who's doing great work in the community. Please leave us with some final words, and also let the people know how they can get in contact with you, because I'm sure after hearing this, and I'm sure many people are aware of your talent and what you're doing. But you know, we want to find out how, what you're doing and how we can get in contact with you,
man.
brother.
My final words are let's build. You know, our young people, our youth need us, man. Our youth need us. You know, whatever your skill is, come down, man. I just ask that you, if you take 1 hour out your week and find, I don't care if it's at your church, at your mosque, find somewhere that you can make some type of impact in the life of some young person.
Yeah.
I just ask that, we owe it to ourselves. We look back at the news and we complain, oh, these young people are crazy, the news is crazy, the culture's, what are we doing about it? Right? This is our family, man. So I just ask that everybody step up and find an outlet to really become more involved. And you could definitely connect with me. My info, allmessiah.com. My social media, All Messiah. That's ALLMESSIAH. Yeah, like I said, the website is allmessiah.com. But if you're on Instagram and Twitter, my handle, All Messiah.
Absolutely.
Salute.
All Messiah, please feel free to reach out to him, and also his information will be in the description of this episode. What's your thoughts on this episode? What's your thoughts on Messiah? What's your thoughts on the piece that he shared? Please, we want to hear from you. Once again, this has been another episode of Voices, and I'm your host, Keston Jones, signing off. Peace.
Peace.